Welcome. This is the Scarlet and Rage podcast. I am Michael, the voice of reason. This is my co-host Jay, the voice of rage, and we are coming to you tonight with the first episode in a couple of weeks. Yes, it's been a little hiatus. Yes, life's been a little bit hectic, and quite honestly, no, there hasn't been that much exciting going on in the Ohio State stratosphere. But certainly some things to dissect and discuss tonight with the big spring game that we had. Do they still call it the spring game, Rage? Or is it
They
the spring
did.
showcase? They
They
did call it the
did. They
spring game
did.
again.
It was, and I'll get to that in a moment. But go ahead.
Okay, all right, because I knew we discussed that, here recently. But a lot to discuss there. Some exciting things, I think, that we saw in the spring game. Also, some rumors going around about Nico from the Tennessee Vols. Saw him going around Twitter. I think they're garbage that Ohio State was getting in a bidding war and looking to pay upwards of $4 million to bring Nico in. I don't see it happening, but that rumor was going around this weekend. So we'll get some thoughts on that. Thank you guys for joining. Feel free to get in those chats. We'll get to as many as we can. And obviously, the super chats we will automatically display and read. So thank you. Glad to be coming back. Jay, it's been a little while. How have things been going the last couple of weeks?
Things have been going swell, Michael. After the basketball national championship that came on like 6 days ago, we are really in the college off season now. Like, we weren't really in it before. Like, there was still basketball, but now, Michael, we are kind of like in that lost in space time. And this is uncharted territory for me and you, because now we're going to have to figure out content. We're going to have to figure out cool ideas to talk about, just uncharted territory, man, because we didn't have a show last off season. Remember? You're muted.
I absolutely do remember. Yep, things went on a hiatus last offseason. And if things get too bad this offseason, we may dive into a little bit of the reason as to why we took a break last year. I know some people.
Well, Michael, you said that you were thinking about doing that.
Yeah, I think we might. But but those of you that have hung around and continue to watch, we thank you. I know it's the off season, and the episodes are not quite as frequent as they are during the season. But anyhow, glad to be here and glad to discuss this spring game tonight. Jay, on my side, the only thing, I have gotten back into, Brazilian jiu-jitsu so last couple of weeks, I've been really trying to get back into it. And my old body is having fits. Getting old is not a lot of fun. And at 43, it does not feel like it did at 33 or even 38 or 39. It really doesn't. But I'm sticking with it, trying to learn to survive so that I can keep training and keep getting better. And I guess that's what life is, huh? Adapt and do the best you can.
That's great, Michael. That's great that you're doing all of that. I have now that you're mentioning age and everything, but remember, you're not old until you start acting old, Michael.
That's true.
Remember that.
I don't act old. I don't think I do.
No, you're a strapping young lad over there, Michael. Never ever forget about that. You're a strapping young lad. But Michael, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you watch golf? Do you play golf? I guess it's two questions. Do you watch or play golf?
No and no. At one time, the answer was yes and yes. When Tiger was playing, I watched golf. I watched the Masters. I watched the majors. If Tiger was leading going into the weekend, I definitely watched the majors. I was into it. It was fun. There were some incredible, runs that Tiger made. When he won the U.S. Open on a shredded knee, his knee was destroyed, and he was in agonizing pain every swing, and he won an 18-hole playoff to win the U.S. Open. So at that time, I did watch golf, but since Tiger has gone, I haven't watched golf, and I never played golf very long. I played it for 2 or 3 years, and it just wasn't my thing. It just took too much time, and I got too bored out there.
Well, Michael, the reason why I asked, there are 2 reasons. Number one, I mean, it's kind of looked at as like the old man's game.
Yeah.
But then number 2, which, might prolong your physical activity and mine as well. But number 2, it's like, the Masters was on today. And my wife, she likes the Masters. I don't really understand. I mean, hey, more power to her. But I could never really wrap my mind around the game of golf, man. It's just so boring. And it really, I don't call it a sport. I just call it more of a hobby because it doesn't really require physical attributes to be good.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people that play golf that absolutely have physical attributes, but it's the type of game where you actually don't, because you have old men out there and they're like some of the best golfers in the world and they're competing on such a large stage. And it's like, I don't know if I would really call this a sport. I mean, if you want to call that a sport, you almost got to call video games a sport, right?
Well, I mean, it depends on what level they're playing. I mean, if it's the guys that are just going out there and they don't really put any time into it and they shoot 115, then no, I mean, that's not much of a sport because it's requiring nothing out of them. But, the guys that, take time to learn the mechanics of the swing and, and work on their chipping and their putting and the small game. There's definitely a eye-hand coordination and a feel skill to that. Sometimes guys can have that are not really, athletic enough to say play even like baseball. And so you will see that in golf sometimes because they've just got that striking. And in golf, there's no other athletic, movement needed really. If you can swing a club well, you don't have to run. You don't have to be quick. It's just, that's what it's about. But definitely, like Tiger Woods, like some others, there are also some very good athletes that just happen to be golfers.
Yeah. I was joking around today with, my little 3-year-old. I'm like, you want to play golf? I mean, like you could take care of mommy and daddy for like the rest of your life, man. You become like a a couple $1 million and, a multi-millionaire. And, you don't really have to exert yourself too much. I understand they practice a lot, but it's not like you're practicing in Mortal Kombat or basketball. I mean, even basketball is a physical game. Golf is not a physical game. But yeah, man, I mean, I don't understand the appeal of golf at all. Like, it's just so boring. Like, it's really effing boring, man. Like, they're just out there with these clubs and they're hitting this little round ball and they just walk around and people out there are just standing there all day. It's quiet. There isn't a lot of energy except for the last hole of the Masters. There seems to be energy, but outside of that, I don't understand anything. I don't understand the appeal for it, but a lot of people like it, man. It seems like a lot of people that like it, for the most part, that fail in other sports, man. Like a lot of people that are just not good at other things seem to like golf a lot.
Well, yeah. I mean, at the amateur level, there's a lot of, Tom, Dick, and Harrys that get a set of golf clubs and flop onto the golf course for sure. Probably more than any other sport because, you can play it to an older age. You can be 70 years old. And if you're still in relatively good financial or physical condition, you can go out there and play 18 holes of golf. So, because of that, it does draw a wide swath of people. But, at the upper levels, I mean, there's definitely a skill to it. That's why it's hard to shoot par. Most people shoot way over par, because it's difficult to shoot par. But, you got to go back and watch the old Tiger Woods, Jay. That's the only exciting golf there was. The old Tiger Woods. Some of those majors were exciting, but outside of that, no, there's nothing about it today that makes me want to tune in.
Well, there are 2 things. Number one, I like how you had a slip of the tongue and said financial, because let's be real, to go out there and play 18 holes is not cheap. That's another thing with golf, man. It's I didn't really know this, but like to actually go out there and play golf, it costs a lot of money. I mean, you have to like, you obviously have to pay for the course or pay to rent for a couple hours to, hit the ball. And then like, obviously you may have a golf cart, you may not, probably have to rent that. And it's just, it's so much money and it takes so much time. It takes like 3 hours, 4 hours, depending on what you're doing to go through all of that. It's like, if you basically take a day and go play golf, you have lost your entire damn day. It's gone.
Yeah. Well, 100%, because, you're, we'll say 30 minutes driving there. It's going to take you 4 hours to play 18. You got to warm up for, 30, 40 minutes before you get out there and play. Yeah. You're looking at 5.5 hour day, start to finish, maybe even 6 hours to play.
Michael, you seem a lot more cultured in golf than I was actually expecting here. So you do know that the greatest golfer of all time is an Ohio State Buckeye.
Jack. Yes, I sure do. The great Jack Nicklaus.
Are you the right guy to ask if who in their prime was better between Jack and Tiger?
Well, to me, when Tiger, got on a roll, he was the greatest ever. If you could say that about Jack too. Oh, when Jack got on a roll, you couldn't beat him. Well, I don't know. They're the two greatest to ever play, and it's not even really questionable. It's also not questionable that Jack Nicklaus was more consistently dominant than Tiger. And so that's why he has to get the edge, even though Tiger had an excitement and a charisma and a passion that he brought to the golf course that was like a first. There'd never been golfers that pumped their fist and yelled and screamed. That had never happened before. And so that about Tiger was irreplaceable, but Jack had more majors. He won 18 to Tiger's 15. And I think Tiger, I don't know how many second place finishes he had, 10 or less. I think well less than 10 second place finishes. And Jack had another 17 second place finishes in majors. So, I mean, he definitely takes it, in my opinion, because Tiger wasn't able to last as long as Jack, and he wasn't able to clip and do what Jack did.
It brings us back to when Tiger got caught having sex with all of those women. I guess if he didn't get caught, he would have beat Jack, right?
It's possible. He certainly took a real mental nosedive. It's like he was psychologically a little bit broken after that.
Did you ever hear some of those phone calls that he had?
Yeah, they were.
He's
were
like,
bad.
"Oh, hey, it's Tiger. Yeah, they're looking into me right now. So just don't text me," or I forget what he said. It was so funny.
Yeah.
It's Tiger like he was made out to be like this pristine guy, but it's Tiger Woods, man. He's gonna have sex with every woman under the sun.
And he was a total scoundrel, and so it just kind of psychologically broke him, when his image was totally tarnished and everybody saw this, ugly underbelly of Tiger's personal life. And yeah, he wasn't the same after that, but whatever it was, he didn't, whatever the reason, it didn't happen. He didn't eclipse Jack. So I still have Jack as the king, the OSU alumni.
Golf or NASCAR?
Oh, golf any day of the week. I mean, I'm not a big golf guy. I did play golf for about 3 years, Jay. So I do know a decent amount about it.
Yeah, I can tell. 100 times more than I know. I'm actually very surprised and pleasantly surprised. So I guess if we want to talk golf on here, I can't carry a show. I just, fuck golf, in my opinion. Fuck it. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's clamoring. I don't think anybody's clamoring for the OSU golf episode. So anyhow, let's get into the spring game.
Yes.
Yes. All right, let's roll.
Michael, starting off with the spring game, man. Dude, we are at 139 days until we kick off in Columbus against the Texas Longhorns. I know, man. I'm ready for it, dude. I'm going to the game. I'm going. I'll be there. But they said on the show that we are still closer to the last time Ohio State and Texas played versus the next time. So, or the future outing in Columbus, which is interesting because that's the whole like college football playoff, man. The seasons run longer. It seems like just yesterday we won the national championship, and it kind of was, or it's like 2.5 months ago. And here we are now, just have completed spring practice and played a spring game. That is crazy. I like it though. I like it. More college football.
It is a absolute grind. I mean, this is NFL light. This is professional football now. I mean, it has been really for many years, but this is professional football. It's obviously the most popular minor leagues in all of America, Division I college football. And Ohio State football is, obviously a behemoth of a brand. And I tell you what, for all the rumors about quarterbacks, well, we'll get into that later. But I think that there's some pretty positive outlooks on the quarterback position, Jay. I know we're going to get into that later, but just right off the bat, what do you say?
I came away impressed with the quarterbacks, man. I mean, do you want me to go in depth now? I can about the quarterbacks.
Let's rock and roll into this.
All right, man. Well, yeah. First off, I just want to say that, I know you said something about spring game, spring showcase, but, credit to Ryan Day. Surprisingly, not surprised. He just won a title. I'm not going to be like on him like that as much now. But, I love that we actually had a game, considering like half the teams in college football have canceled their fucking games. And it's soft to not play the games. And these programs are like little bitches about like thinking like teams are going to come and like, NIL the fuck out of their program and steal players and this, that, and the other. But hey, Ohio State, we actually had a game. I'm happy with that. So let me just get that out of the way. But Michael, so Julian Sayin, impressive. He is small, but man, he has got great accuracy. I would say CJ Stroud level accuracy.
And he has a lightning quick release. Let me just
lightning quick release. But here's the thing. And you look at that release, he almost throws the football like a baseball, which makes me wonder if he's going to like hurt like the anterior like forearm. But is there emergency going on, man?
Hold on. Yes.
Oh man, hopefully everything is okay at Michael's house. So guys, I don't know what just happened live on air. Michael is like, had something going on. Hopefully his kids are okay. I am going to carry the show for a little while. I don't know what just happened. But yeah, prayers there. Julian Sayin, impressive, small, but got great accuracy. Like I said, throws the ball like a baseball. It makes me wonder if he's going to get hurt or not. Love what I saw out of him, though, from a passing standpoint. Doesn't look like much of a runner and will always be prone to getting absolutely killed due to lack of size. But I don't know. I like what I saw. It really is going to depend on the play calling with Julian and the fact that I don't know if he is a quarterback that can operate behind schedule. Like, I don't want him to like, well, actually, you never want any quarterback to be facing third and long, but the question is, can the guy like deliver passes on third and long? Yes. We love what we saw out of him on first and second down. It looks like Ohio State is migrating and they are taking that play calling that they had in the playoffs at the end of last year. Pass first offense, because with our personnel, it looks like we are going to have to be pass first. I like our running backs. They're not great, but they are good. We're going to have to be a pass first program here. But I guess the next quarterback, Lincoln Kienholz. Sub and Skippy, what are you saying over here? Really impressed with Mylan Graham, Max Clare, Bo Jackson, Julian Sayin. Yes, I was impressed with all of them. We have a lot of dudes on offense there. That is absolutely for certain. And, the more you look at this offense, it's like, man, are they going to be more talented than last season on offense? I mean, it's quite possible. So with Lincoln, Michael probably should have muted his mic. Sounds like he's got like something going on with his kids. I don't know. Yeah, something's going on. Lincoln Kynholtz, I feel like we didn't get as good a look at him considering he's better with the ability to have some like run options. And, at the same time, he's never appeared fast or twitchy enough to make a difference. But we know that with Lincoln Kynholtz, he's like a bigger quarterback. Like he definitely looks at it like out there, like he's a legitimate, like, I wouldn't say, he's bigger than Julian Sand, but he's only like 6'2", 6'3". But, he has decent running ability. He's got a good arm. His passing was fine. It's not Julian Sand. It's not even close, but it makes you wonder, like, if the offensive line is struggling to pass protect in a game or all season, is Julian Sand the right guy to be the quarterback, considering how undersized he is? And, Lincoln Kynholtz is a running threat. Julian Sand I know that he can run some, but, he's he's like 5'11", 6 foot, 200 and, whatever pounds. He's not very big. He's not a physical guy. He's not Will Howard. Will Howard, for the lack of arm strength he had pretty good accuracy, and he was big and could take a hit. So that definitely is advantageous to him there, and not so advantageous to Julian Sand. Speaking of big physical quarterbacks, Tavian St. Clair. I got to be honest, at the start of this game, he looked like a fish out of water. I initially thought he looked about 2 years away from really competing, considering he played low-level football at Bella Fountain. And you see what you hear about what happened with Keelan Russell at Alabama and the success he's having. But man, Tavian completely changed my thought process about halfway through this game. Tavian St. Clair, everyone, is the most talented quarterback on this roster. I don't really know what else to say. It's he's just big, strong, fast, got a really good arm, and he's got pretty solid accuracy. So at the same time, it's like he's just very impressive. Like he's very talented, the most talented guy on the roster. You can see why he was a top 10 overall player in the country. He finished second in the Elite 11, I believe, behind Keelan Russell from Alabama. But man, I mean, he looks the part, man. He looks like in 2 years he's gonna hit the ground running, and he'll be, and be honest, he'll be a future Heisman candidate. I'm not trying to like speak too far ahead with that, but man, I was very impressed by what I saw. Just just how big, and he can run some, and he's got a good arm. I mean, quarterbacks like him just do not grow on trees, especially in Ohio. And we know how bad Ohio high school football is. I really wish Tavian would have played and transferred to a high-level Division I team. Hell, with how bad Ohio Division I football is, maybe it would have been better for him to transfer to like IMG or somewhere, another like loaded powerhouse on the East Coast, just to get a better look and be better prepared for college. But he looked fine yesterday. He looked fine in the spring game. So we will, continue to watch his progress. I doubt we'll see. Actually, with only 3 quarterbacks on the roster, I would think that he might actually get some reps. So obviously, they're not going to try and burn his red shirt. I hope not. But he really does look like the guy that's going to take over after Julian Sand goes pro, probably in 2 years, because Julian's, he was a true freshman in 2024. He'll probably be our guy for 25 and 26, and then that leaves 27 for Tavian to take over, and he would be a true, a redshirt sophomore. And then like we would here, the problem with that is we would only get 1, maybe 2 years of him, because if he's really progressing at such an accelerated rate and he's got all these tools, these NFL teams are going to look at him and they are probably going to, want to draft him on potential, because potentially he, I can tell you right now, he's much more talented than Will Howard. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy. Looks like Michael's about to come back, and I hear him coming in right now. Michael, hopefully everything's okay, man.
Yeah, it was a bit of a false alarm. Everything's fine, but kids do randomly come in my house now, which is something I'm having to get used to. I'm, like I told, I'm going through a divorce, and especially my 17-year-old daughter can just kind of pop in whenever.
She wasn't with like a young boy, was she?
No, but a young boy was on speakerphone, so it seemed that she'd brought a young boy into the house, and I was yeah. So I was just
sneak it by you.
Well, yeah, but it didn't happen. So I was just checking on that situation. Not a big deal. Everything's fine. But
Michael, I just broke down the quarterbacks, man. I kind of went backwards and forwards. I guess, what are your thoughts on the quarterbacks, man? I said my piece, as detailed as I could. Anything that stuck out to you with any of the quarterbacks?
Yeah, I'm going to say this very quickly. I'm not going to beleaguer this point on the quarterbacks too much. There's a lot of other things to cover that we got to get moving to. But I was pleasantly surprised with Lincoln Kienholz. I definitely think he's a guy that has some potential. Julian Sayin, he showed a lot of promise. Like you said before I left there, he is a little smaller than you would like, thin wise. I mean, I think he is about 6'1", 6'5", 6'1", somewhere in there. But probably only 190 pounds, and so it would be nice if he put a little weight on, but he definitely has a beautiful release, an accurate ball. And I think he can be a very dangerous quarterback at Ohio State. So I'm clearly picking him as my horse coming out of this spring game.
Michael, yeah, I agree. Any thoughts on the offensive line? I mean, I'll say my part, but I just want to know your thoughts, man. Any thoughts on the offensive line, like from you that you saw in the spring game, personnel wise, blocking scheme, all of that?
Well, that's an area that I just watching it one time through did not get a grip on enough to really have a whole lot of analysis at this point. But the offensive line, give me your thoughts on it, and then I'll see if the little bit that I pieced together is consistent with you.
Off the bat, dude, they passed the look test more so than last year. And one thing that I said while you're off air, Michael, is I think this offense actually has more talent on it than last season.
Yep.
It has the potential to be, I actually think it is going to be better. I think it's going to be a better offense. The offensive line is just massive. Like it has like Ethan Onyenwere from the transfer from Rice. He's like 6'6", 350 pounds. He is just a fucking tank, dude. He reminds me of DeJuan Jones. And then you have like, Philip Jones from Minnesota. And then like, now we also have like Luke Montgomery back and Carson Hisman. He's a bigger center. We have Austin Sierreveld. We have Tegra Tshabola, right? Tshabola.
Tegra Tshabola.
Right. Man, you corrected me on that last year. He's massive, and he's actually a little smaller than Ethan Onyenwere. So this offensive line is very big, very powerful. They really didn't have many problems yesterday, and I'll get to a little bit of that. But yeah, man, just very, very, very impressed by the offensive line. I think it has the potential to be the best offensive line in the country.
I will say this, and this is kind of a lot of hype before we've gotten down through it. I know there's a lot that has to happen, and by no means am I making a prediction. I'm just saying I didn't think that entertaining the possibility of back-to-back national championships was probably something worth putting ourselves through. And it's still a massive long shot. It's so hard to win, back-to-back. But I don't think it's impossible if some things came together from some things that I saw today, because like you said, offensive line, receivers, quarterback, this offense absolutely has the potential to be maybe more dangerous than last year's offense, and to be so consistently from the beginning of the year as it goes, because as long as Ryan Day can stay good Ryan Day and call the kind of nasty games that he called in the playoffs, this team absolutely has a puncher's chance at making some noise in the playoffs, and potentially even making a back-to-back run.
Yeah, I agree, especially with the offense. So moving on, the running backs. Actually, you know what? Let's go into wide receiver, man. Let's just go into wide receiver. Mylan Graham from the state of Indiana. He looks like an absolute star. Quick and a home run hitter. I mean, Jeremiah Smith is a home run hitter, but it kind of takes him a little bit to get going. Man, Mylan Graham. It's like, he's like a little bullet out there. He catches and he goes. Like, wow. He's not small, 6'1". We already know about Jeremiah Smith, but with Carnell Tate and Brandon Innes underneath as like possession type receivers, if you want to call them that, this is the best wide receiver room in the nation. Again, Quincy Porter, true freshman from Bergen Catholic. We know what he did last season against Massillon. Size, length, speed. This unit has everything. Honestly, Michael, I'm not kidding when I say that this unit has everything you would want on an NFL roster, not just a college roster, an NFL roster. Like size, length, speed, twitchiness, hand-eye coordination, ball skills. They have everything. And that's not a joke. They really do.
Yep. No, absolutely. I mean, this offense has the potential to be one of the best offenses in the country if Julian Sayin can develop the way that I think he's possible based on what I saw today with this wide receiver room. Just a lot, and running back, it's a little harder to tell because this, it is a spring game, but it's also kind of a skills matchup. It's tough. It's tough to tell some about the running game in these type of situations, but from the offensive line to the receiver to the quarterback, it's looking pretty good. The best spring game that I've seen in several years, because there's not been many spring games in recent years that I've thought the offense.
Yeah, it's like again, Ryan Day watched our show when things were failing and turned the program around. It's like the play calling seems crisp. It's aggressive. It challenges every part. Oh, I mean, they probably should have thrown deep a little bit more yesterday. I would have liked to have seen Julian Sayin throw down the field more, but the other quarterbacks did throw down the field. But again, I'm just happy they had a spring game. They weren't bitches about it. They fucking played. Good for them. The running back position, it's a solid group. Now, this is a position group where we're not as good as last year. You're just not going to be able to replace Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. Travion Henderson is one of the top 3 backs in the country. Quinshon is one of the top 8 backs in the country. They are solid there. They are not great, but very solid. I really actually liked what I saw out of the West Virginia transfer, C.J. Donaldson. Sam Williams-Dixon has got twitch. We already know about James Peoples. I don't even know if James Peoples even played in this game. So we have some solid depth there. I don't know that any of them are great backs, but again, they're all solid. Donaldson is big and fast. Sam Williams-Dixon is he's just a lightning bug out there. Just not a lightning bug, like a jitterbug.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Donalds Jr. definitely, showed some promise. I mean, it was a spring game, but he showed some nice explosion through some holes at times, and definitely looked like a guy who can, contribute and get the job done. No, the backs are not as good, but Jay, when 3 out of 4 groups are, I think, going to be better, I think you can definitely make the argument that the entire offense could be better, even though running back is going to be a downgrade. But the thing about that position is it was such a high bar last year that it's difficult to have that type, 2 NFL running backs, ready NFL running backs in the same room. And that's what they had last year. And so while that is definitely going to take a step back, it's not like it's bad. And I think the other 3 groups on the offense can be taken a step forward.
You think quarterback's going to take a step forward?
I do, because as good as Will Howard did, I think he's still a limited guy. I think he's, he played very well. Love Will, but there's only so much Will was going to do. And I think that Sayin, with his accuracy and kind of just the way that he carries himself, Will, even as a 5th-year senior, was going to do some dumb things like the first 8, 9, 10 games. It's like he did it every game. He was due like a dumb, a crazy thing every game, a fumble of a ball, a slip and a fall. Some of it, almost came across as clumsiness, but Sayin seems very composed. He seems very tactical out there and just a very sharp, accurate arm.
I hope you're right. But just remember, it is a spring game. It is a spring game, and there is more to say and why these guys all look really good. But the tight end group, Michael, very, very solid. There is not a superstar there as well, but a lot of guys that can play. And I think, yeah, this is a position group that is going to be better than last year. Max Clare was a good tight end for Purdue. Jelani Thurman is continuing to grow. He is a absolute like physical freak of nature. And they have a lot of other options there too. Nate Roberts caught some passes, true freshman. I don't anticipate he's going to get much playing time, but just between Max Clare and Jelani Thurman, that's a two-headed monster there that I like a lot. Especially, the thing is that goes unnoticed with Jelani, but I notice it is, he's so big and powerful. But when they put him in on those power formations, man, he is running motherfuckers over.
Yeah.
Running motherfuckers over as a blocker, man. It's like you put him next to Ethan Onyanwa and have them in a tight formation, they are going to bulldoze teams. They're going to fucking bulldoze teams.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely going to be a good position group. Thurman, I think we've wanted to see maybe more early out of him, but tight end is a very developmental position. It's not uncommon to see a guy really blossom in his third and fourth year at tight end. You do have that rare tight end that's NFL ready after his junior year, but oftentimes it takes these guys a little bit of time, almost like offensive line, because they're having to put together the receiving aspect of the game. They're having to get down the blocking aspect of the game. So they're kind of living in two different worlds, both as a little bit of an offensive line, which is challenging at the college level, and of course as a receiver, which takes development. So it's a very developmental position, and it certainly looks like it could be ready to kind of take a step up and have a really nice showing from that position.
Agreed, man. Agreed. So now we need to flip. I think we covered everything on offense. We need to flip to the other side of the ball. And Michael, let's just get the ugliness out of the way now. Defensive line. I've said that Larry Johnson has needed fired and just been let go for a while, but his misses in recruiting are now showing like at the front. Like there is no escaping it now. Like he was lucky to have Tyleek come back, Jack come back, Tui Malau come back, Ty Hamilton. All of those guys came back last year, and he had those 4 seniors, and the rest could like fill in and spell them and stuff. But defensive line, Michael, biggest weakness on the team. It appears like it's the weakest it's been in a long time. There is not a lot of size or depth. We were getting mauled. I mean, again, this is, I think it possibly is the best offensive line in the country, but they were getting mauled at times yesterday, Michael. They need at least another 320-pound nose tackle in the worst way possible. Caden McDonald cannot be the only one on the roster. It's, Logan George, he's, somebody like, I still am not sold on Caden Curry. I think Kenyatta Jackson is probably our best pass rusher. I know they're trying to get CJ Hicks involved more, but at the same time, pass rushing is going to be completely irrelevant if you cannot stop the fucking run. And I'm already having nightmares of Texas and Michigan just bulldozing that front seven, man. Like Ohio State is not going to be able to stop the run with this personnel. They will not be able to do it. And I'll get to the rest of the defense later, but this is the defense is going to be a massive problem next year. Matt Patricia has his work cut out for him, but again, Matt Patricia's kind of in that 4-3-3-4 like hybrid stuff. Well, you need big, powerful defensive tackles to run those schemes. They have one guy. If you're going to run that scheme, you probably need like at least 2. And there's, I know Ohio State's going to have to go after him in the portal, but it is going to be a massive problem, man. The defensive line looked awful. It looks small. I think they have some nice speed at edge, but it doesn't matter if you can't stop the run.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a team. It's going to be another offensive Ohio State team. This isn't going to be, I don't think, last year was a treat where the defense was really, really good. It wasn't perfect, but the defense was certainly really good last year. This year, coming into this past season, the offensive line was the question. I think it's pretty clear coming into next season, 2025, the defensive line is going to be the big question mark. Can it improve? Can it come together? Can it gel? I don't know. Certainly, it looks like a something that is potentially problematic now. But I'm still somewhat optimistic about the defense. It's going to be a work in progress. I think we've got good potential at linebacker. I know we're going to get to those positions one by one, and the back seven, I don't know. I mean, this is kind of one of those things. It's hard for those back seven guys to really go 100% because they're not hitting guys that much after the catch. And that little bit can make a difference. But I think they're very talented back there, and it absolutely could come together. So I think that the back seven can definitely come together and be a good unit. The front four, there's some big question marks there.
Well, interesting you say all of that, Michael, because again, it all starts up front, and I'll just go right into linebackers, man. It's really, really, really hard to say and grade them with how bad the defensive line just got obliterated, and they were put in some bad spots. Now, there are some guys that can really, really run. There are some guys in the secondary and linebacker. Let me just say, defensive speed is elite. I can see it in the defense, but again, I don't care how fast you are if you're like tackling guys 3, 4, 5 yards downfield every single time, because that's what they're going to run into against the best teams. Like, they have got to find better personnel up front. I'm trying to think of some guy. Riley Pettijohn, the true freshman linebacker from the state of Texas, 5-star. But man, oh man, he can run sideline to sideline, man. Tarvo Sulfur. Now, those guys aren't as long or as big as I want, but, you can see the talent there. They are absolutely really, really talented guys. Alex Stiles, man, this is his last year at Ohio State. He looks the part. I'm glad they put CJ Hicks at end, because that is his, we can hope that he can have an Abdul Carter Penn State type impact there. That might be extremely wishful thinking. But like the best edge rushers on the defensive line, I think I saw yesterday were, not Kenyatta. Well, Kenyatta Jackson probably won, but oh man, the true freshman from the state of Alabama. I got my picture with him at the national championship game. Zion Grady. Zion Grady looked really good, and Dominic Kirks, who was a freshman in the 2024 class. He was from Painesville, Ohio, Cleveland. That's in Cleveland area, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Up in Northern Ohio, yeah.
Yeah. Those were like the two best edge rushers I saw. So again, I think edge rusher is fine. They have some length and playmaking there, but defensive tackle, real problem. Linebackers, I think the linebackers are good, but again, they're just getting washed out of the play, man. Michael, anything else to add about the linebacker?
No, not really. I think you covered it. I mean, it's a tough day for them. It's tough to play linebacker when the D-line's not, doing well or even holding their own. But again, I think that Hicks, CJ Hicks, I think that if we could get 5 to 7 sacks out of him and some productive edge rushing, I think that'd be a big win. I'm not expecting the 12, 14. I'm not expecting a first round type of explosion from Hicks, but if he could find a place to contribute with that great athleticism of his, coming off the edge, maybe be a 5 to 7, maybe even 8 sack guy. I think that would be, much welcome to this defensive line.
Yeah. And, lastly, the last position group I guess we'll talk about here is the secondary. I think for the most part, the secondary looks pretty good, Michael. Very good. We didn't get much to be seen at Jermaine Matthews. We know what we have at Igbinosun. He's a pass interference waiting to happen 1 out of every 3 times you throw at him.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if you want to put him at like safety or something and find somebody else to man that other corner. But let me just point it out, man. Aaron Scott, now he's going to be a redshirt freshman or a true sophomore. I don't know. Man, that guy does not need to be playing. Number 5, outside of one play, he was burnt toast every single fucking time. And again, this was a problem last season too. I'm not saying he cannot be good ever, but what I am saying is if he is playing a lot, we're in big trouble. He is not ready yet. He just doesn't look all that big, all that physical. Like, I remember he was marketed as some like 6'2" corner coming out of Springfield. He's probably 6 feet tall, which is still a tall corner, but don't try and fucking bullshit us and make it like he's some super lengthy, explosive, talented player like Devin Sanchez. Devin Sanchez from Texas, you know, he's probably going to play some. Like, you just can't avoid having the best corner, the number one corner in the nation, come into your program, and he's not going to play. You know, I already said Jermaine Matthews, but one guy I want to see more of is Bryce West. I didn't really see him much until later in the game. I thought he played great in spots last season. Yeah, he is not a lengthy corner. He's only 5'10", 5'11", but you know what? He is pristine on his technique. He is pristine on his physicality and just his speed, man. He's just an athlete out there. He looked great in the Tennessee game. More of him, less of Aaron Scott. But Fahim Delane stuck out. Fahim Delane, the safety from DC area. I'm trying to remember the high school he went to. He looked really good. But yeah, man, the secondary looked really good, but again, they just can't stop the run. So it is what it is.
And I mean, you know, Scott, he's out there because he's in the mix. I mean, just because he played in the spring game, he very well may not be one of the best guys, you know, come game, or he may be down the list a little bit, but that's what they're out there for, getting their shot. And certainly there is a lot of potential in that secondary. Like you said, there are there's some question marks, you know, and there's some young guys, but I think that the secondary absolutely can come together, and by game 7, 8, 9, heading into Michigan, the playoffs, can be a far different secondary than they are in maybe early in the year, because they're young and they're going to continue to get better. And I think you're seeing Matt Patricia's influence, and I saw them playing a lot of zone. And I know that that's a belief of Matt Patricia's, that when you have a young, inexperienced secondary, you play a lot of zone early in the year. And then as things begin to gel, you can begin to dial up, you know, blitzes and a little some man-to-man and be a little more aggressive with things. And so it seems that that is the approach he's taken with the defense. It'll be interesting to see how Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator Matt Patricia develops that as time goes on.
Yeah, they're going to I don't know. I mean, it's going to be hard to say about what they should be running schematically. Again, they're going to have to hit the ground 100 miles an hour running. I will say this, off topic, like there are two advantages Ohio State has over Texas going into week 1. Number one, we had more practice time than them. At the end of last season, we had an extra 10, 11 days of 10 days of practice because we beat them in the Cotton Bowl in their backyard. And then number two, you know, I mean, there is something to actually playing a live game, like in front of people and stuff. Like there is like game jitters. You can play a live simulated environment in like practice, but at the same time, it's like being in front of a crowd. Like there is something to that. So I just, Ohio State is ahead of Texas in that regard too. Now, is our roster as good as theirs? That's to be seen. I mean, it's going to be very close. I mean, these are arguably it's us, them, Georgia, probably Alabama, the 4 best rosters in college football going into 2025. Hey, Michael, highlights.
We're playing at home, Jay. We're playing at home. And the last time a UT with orange out of the SEC came into the Horseshoe, they got ran out of there. So they've got to come in to our house. So that's an advantage too. That's an advantage Ohio State as well.
Well, the last time Texas came into the Horseshoe, they won.
I know they did. But I'm just saying that was many eons ago.
20 years ago. Holy shit, dude. Yep. That's fucking crazy. The Vince Young 2005 game, man. I remember how hyped that game was, dude. It was so fucking hyped. It was like the biggest like non-conference like college football game ever.
Yeah. So, Rage, what's your final assessment of this spring game? I mean,
I loved it, man. It was a success. It was an absolute success. There really weren't any complaints. We know where our holes are. We know what we need to do in the transfer portal, which, by the way, Michael, our next episode needs to be on the transfer portal. And I guess next week we'll cover that and discuss position groups that, we need to go after and state of the roster stuff. Yeah. Hint, hint, defensive tackle. Michael, what were your overall thoughts on the spring game?
Well, I thought it was, definitely, it was one of the better spring games I've seen in a while. And I see some comments that, he did not see a lot of zone coverage. Well, I mean, there was quite a bit of zone. And there was also some match coverage where it wasn't zone per se, but the safeties were matching people up based on, what part of the field they came. So it's a form of zone, but the corners are man on the outside. So there was definitely quite a bit of that as well. Yeah, I think overall it was, I'm pretty impressed, pretty pleased. Definitely some question marks, but hey, we had a big question mark in the offensive line last year. Coming in, we won a national championship, so I am optimistic. This team's very talented. Obviously, it's young, but very talented, and I think they're dangerous.
I agree. Michael, do we want to look at some of these chats? There are a couple I want you to highlight, and maybe we should discuss these a little bit.
Well, if they didn't super chat, they don't get a highlight, but we can
discuss
them. Yeah.
Right. Well, PL Laker, if you could highlight that one. Again, some of them stick out.
Sure.
And I want to not that one. The Ohio boys overrated from these past classes.
Not seeing that one.
Well, should be 10-21.
Here we go. Right there.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So here's the thing. They're not over. I mean, here's the thing. Ohio football sucks, Michael. I think we can all agree that Ohio high school football sucks.
Mm-hmm.
It's terrible. It's a terrible product. And I think this is the only podcast that openly bashes Ohio high school athletics because Ohio high school football sucks. Ohio high school basketball is even worse. So with that being said, I wouldn't say that these Ohio boys are overrated. They're actually rated probably on point considering what do we have, Michael? 2 or 3 composite top 100 players on average every year? Fuck, man. We used to have 2 to 3 5-stars every year. And now we're barely scraping by with 2 to 3 composite top 100 players. So, I mean, I would say it's pretty accurate. Those 2 big offensive linemen, Max Riley and Sam Greer, they're not in the top 100 from Avon and Hoban. They're not even composite top 100 players, Michael. They're they're seldom to be found in our state.
One Ohio boy that is looking pretty good is Montgomery. Montgomery continues to look like he's going to be a very good offensive lineman at Ohio State. So he's a homegrown guy in Ohio. But yeah, I mean, this is obviously a national team, a lot of national players. There are some Ohio guys mixed in there. We can get into that in another episode, but did
you want to touch on the Nico situation, man? I feel like you had some really. What are your thoughts on that?
Let's just close out with that. I mean, I don't really have any thoughts, but there's all this hype about maybe Nico coming to Ohio State. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't believe that for a minute. I don't think that Ohio State's going to pay millions and millions of dollars to bring Nico in with what we saw on the field today. I think Julian Sayin is. I think he can get the job done. And who knows, maybe there's a defensive tackle out there that they could go spend some money on, because I think that could be more valuable than Nico. Maybe there's one coming out of the portal I haven't seen. We'll maybe update what portal options are available once that opens up post-spring here. But it sure would be nice to land a defensive tackle out of the portal. I don't see them paying $4 million for Nico, Jay. That's really all I had to say about that. I think that story's nonsense. I don't think it has any legs, and I think it's going to be one of the guys we saw today playing quarterback.
No, I agree. I didn't see anything about Nico. I will just end with my thoughts on the Nico Iamaleava situation. Number one, both parties are in the wrong. Nico, for him to be commanding a lot of money, and supposedly his dad is the puppet master behind the scenes, and some family members and this, that, and the other commanding or demanding more money from Tennessee. I think that's kind of messed up. He got a very, very, very lucrative deal. Coming out of high school. I forget what it was. I remember when he came out of California. Again, remember, this kid is from California, and he went all the way to small fucking podunk, shitty Knoxville, Tennessee, to go play football. A kid from Los Angeles going across the country to play for Knoxville, Tennessee Volunteers. So
because they gave him millions of dollars.
Exactly. They gave him millions of dollars. And a lot of Tennessee fans, like one of my good buddies, I was texting him about it. He's all upset and fuck him and this, that, and the other. I'm like, well, you guys started this.
Yeah.
Like Tennessee, I'm not going to cry for you, Josh Heupel, saying like, oh, well, no one player is bigger than the team and blah, blah, blah. Oh, really? Has anyone else on the team gotten like $2 million a year, Michael? No, I don't know. I don't think so.
And so that's the absurdity of the NIL era is you buy a kid and then you've got to renegotiate every year. If we're going to pay money, if we're going to do things like that, then the schools need to be able to start offering multi-year contracts to these kids, 2 and 3 year contracts, whatever the school's willing to pony up to. Hopefully that's what it's going to, as collective bargaining is there and schools can actually become involved somewhat in the process. Hopefully they can put together these packages. And the deal is it's a 3-year package. If you leave early, let's say it's a 3-year package worth $7 million for let's say a stud defensive tackle. If you leave after year 1, however much of that $7 million you've collected, you've got to pay 66% of it back. That's in the contract. And so, not that I don't know how well those could be enforced, but there starts to need some kind of protection for these schools spending all of this money. And until then, if you give a guy $4 and $5 and $6 million and he ups and leaves after a year, goes to the next highest bidder, then, you played the game and you got burnt. That's just the way it goes. Yeah.
And, these people need to be locked into contracts. And then like after the contract's over, they need to go into arbitration. If they're not going to sign let's say they signed them for 3 years, each player gets signed for 3 years. And then they're like, oh, well, we want to come back for our 4th year. And then it's like, well, what have you done for me? Yeah, they have to renegotiate. They have to sit and be like, well, you did this and that, and we like this, but we don't like that. And we're going to give you this, or, that, it's just going to be a big negotiation thing. And I will say this, Michael, once like contracts actually get put in and these kids are actually forced to play, or they don't get fucking paid, it's going to be the resurrection of bowl games.
Yeah.
Because bowl game, people are trying to say they don't count. Oh, they go on the win-loss record. This is not a scrimmage. You're not wearing your practice jerseys like you are in high school, and it's like, oh, it doesn't count. These games fucking count. It is not a scrimmage. It is a game that these players have been getting away with murder by not playing in. They should be forced to play. They should. If they're not going to play, that's fine, but pay back your scholarship money and pay back the money we gave you for said year or your entire existence. I mean, you just can't choose to not play. Michael, you just can't choose unless you actually take like paid time off to just miss work. Like you're going to get in trouble for that. Like the equivalent of them missing a game would be like the equivalent of somebody just dropping off the face of the earth like for 3 weeks and not going to work. Like you just can't do that and not get fired. Because there are like 12, 13 games in a year on average.
Yeah. Well,
that's exactly what you're be missing there.
And the one sticky part of it is, the guys kind of have the leverage, because colleges, they don't get to, how can they, they're going to sit out and they're going to go on and play in the NFL the next year and make more money. So, how they can enforce this, how there can be recourse. I mean, NFL guys will do that sometimes. They'll sit out a few games at the end of the season because the team's out of it and, whatever. And so, how do the teams enforce that? It's sticky, but the bottom line is there needs to be some more enforcement so that these kids can come and make some commitment to the universities and we can get out of this ridiculous bidding game. Those are my thoughts on it, Jay. I think that's about all I got for tonight. How about you? You got any closing comments?
No closing comments. I was checking my Facebook right now, and it looks like some like relative of Aaron Scott doesn't seem to like what I have to say about Aaron Scott's like performance in the spring game. I basically said, I don't know who it is, but I'm about to come back at them. I don't give a fuck who they are. I was just looking at that just now. I don't have any thoughts. I guess next week we will hit on the transfer portal and like the needs Ohio State has to have. I feel like this whole like NIL and, players getting like all of that, I feel like that just needs like an episode like by itself in the off season here in a couple weeks. Like we should just go all in, talk about the state of how NIL came about and all of that, because it really, like the beginning of NIL was when I was in college, and actually before I was in college, I forget who it was. It had to do with like the video game, like the NCAA basketball March Madness game and NCAA football players were some of the, again, it's like, it was like 10 out of like a couple thousand college athletes. They got upset and they lawyered up. And that's when this all started. And like, we need to be paid for this and paid for our,
name, image, and likeness.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that would be a good off-season content. But guys, thank you for taking the time to watch. I hope you enjoyed this spring breakdown. We'll be back with an episode next week. And till then, enjoy it, and we hope to see you soon. Bye.
Yep. See ya.